We have some reports and presentations. Bill Askenberg is going to be reporting on Roberts Field tonight.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to provide this quick update on the Friendship Park Playground budget and fundraising, and then finally to talk a little bit about our final fundraiser. So this is Friendship Park, the new inclusive Friendship Park, and as most of you probably know, it was opened June of last year. The DPW finished up some of the work in the fall, and they're going to start back working on it in the spring. And we expect that things like the shade structure, some of the grading and the seeding and loam that needs to go down will be finished in the spring, and then we hope to have a dedication ceremony in the summer. And we'll work with you guys to develop that. But you can see from this photograph that the fencing and all was put up, and it's a good overview of the playground. Sorry, next slide. So we worked with Darlene Lucier and Steve Yonley to compile the expenses that the town has incurred so far in developing the budget, and right now it's a pretty complete list. The expenses are at $501,000. There is about $9,000 still pending for the installment of a shade structure that's on site now, a gate for the fence, and then we need to do a redesign on the sandbox. We have some issues with the ground is so compacted that the water won't drain out of the sandbox, and what we have now is a splash pad. Not a very clean splash pad, but a splash pad. So we're looking, the DPW is putting together some numbers and to see what we can do with that. So that depending on how that nets out, we'll see where that comes in. But according to Steve, the remaining projects will all be completed under the DPW budget. So again, we're looking at $501,000 in expenses right now. I also wanted to point out that the value that the town has received is in excess of $620,000, and that takes into account the sweat equity that the community put in place for the community build of $40,000, the value that the DPW brought in using their employees and machinery to install the playground. That was estimated to be between $75,000 and $90,000, so we took the lower value there. And then in-kind donations from other sponsors, different activities and things that have gone on. We have $11,000 there, and we expect a few more to come in. So in total, you're looking at a $628,000 playground, but for a hard cost of $501,000. Any questions on these numbers? Yes.
What was the amount that town meeting authorized to fund this? So
for the CPA fund, it was up to $450,000. And Darlene has been tracking that, and the offset, the difference between the 450 and the 500 was paid for by fundraising, and we'll get into that in the next slide. Next slide. So the Friends of Roberts Field was charged with fundraising for the new playground, and to date, we, being the chair of the Friends of Roberts Field, we've delivered over $660,000 in value, and the way that breaks out is that we raised $160,000 in total community investment, right? And $108,000 of that was spendable income. I didn't want to say cash, but it's spendable income that to offset the charges. And the rest was things like the community build labor and also the in-kind donations. We also have, with the help of the state Chelmsford delegation, been put on the environmental bond bill where Roberts Field is in line for $500,000 to finish the job. So the total master plan estimate for the cost for doing the playground and redoing Roberts Field was about a little less than $1 million. So with this extra $500,000, we'll be able to fund the entire project. So that's really good news. And we're going to head a lobbying campaign in February to try and get Chelmsford in line with that capital plan where they allocate those budgets. The playground fundraising is going to end May 1st, and that's when the town's fiscal year is going to end in June, and then the CPA funding account is going to be closed off then. So our focus right now is we've paid for the budget overage or the overages or the things that weren't budgeted for at the time that we met at fall town meeting, roughly $50,000. So now everything else that we bring to the table is going to be to pay down that CPA fund. Right, so we have about $37,000 now in funds that we could write a check for now. We're going to write a check on May 15th, and with our next fundraiser, the Buy a Brick campaign, we could we could reap at least, well, we could reap between $50,000 and $60,000 on that campaign, depending on how successful it is. We also have other fundraisers that we'll be doing. We have a web store that'll be up and running, and then we also have smaller things like photo sessions and things like that that are going to be scheduled throughout. And then that's a breakout of how our fundraising efforts have unfolded so far in the last year. So again, it's $160,000 in value. Any questions on that? What?
Can you talk a little bit more about this potential for an additional 500,000?
The environmental bond bill, H 4835, the Chelmsford delegation got us in line, earmarked $500,000 for us, and now it's basically up to the state to say it's a $2.6 billion bill that they're not going to fund all at 1 year. They're going to fund it over different years. So our charge is to try to get us move our place up in line.
Is that waiting for the governor to
release, yeah.
to release the money? We haven't done too well with our $2 million on the same track.
Right, right. What happens is the authorization is one step. You need the appropriation and release, and I think what you're getting at is they often authorize more than ever gets released ultimately.
Right.
That's
You
correct.
can't count on any
Right, but that's where the
timeframe.
lobbying and efforts come in to see if we can free that money up.
And I think that we all know, like the Center Village, the master plan called for. We got put in for a couple of $1 million on that. But I think this is a different animal. We have a story. We have a lot of people have really contributed to this. Not only families, but businesses and associations. The towns chipped in. We've used CPA funds, so it's really been a collective effort to get this built and funded. And I think this is now a good example where the state can step in and sort of finish the project. We've done our due diligence. We've got a master plan in place. We know how the monies would be spent. So I think it's just a matter of trying to get our story out there. And I think I'm hopeful that we'll be successful. Any other questions on that? So our next fundraiser, our Buy a Brick fundraiser, what we're going to be doing is selling laser engraved bricks at the new Friendship Park, replacing the blank bricks that are currently in the pathway that we installed this past summer. And we created a nice little PSA to share, not only locally, but also in the surrounding communities as well. So this will be running on cable access channels all around the Merrimack Valley.
And how much
How much what?
will the bricks be?
Oh, sorry, the bricks are $100 a piece, and they're 4x8s. There's 3 lines of text, 20 characters max each, and then we can also add symbols to them. So it's a nice little initiative to get people involved.
Hi, I'm Sadie. And I'm Lydia. And we love the new Friendship Park playground. We are very excited to share that the Friends of Roberts Field have started a new engraved brick fundraiser for Friendship Park. Each 4x8-inch brick can be laser engraved with your own personalized message. You can also add a symbol to your brick with a variety to choose from. The new bricks will be installed in summer 2019, and they will replace blank bricks in the existing playground pathway. You can order your brick online for $100 at friendsofrobertsfield.org/buyabrick, or pick up an order from Friendship Park. Space is limited, so act fast before they're all gone. Leave your mark at Friendship Park and buy a brick today. Thank you!
So in addition to the spots, we're also going to be doing a yard sign campaign, which really helped our campaign this last time. So we're feeling pretty optimistic about the Buy a Brick. So if anybody is interested in buying a brick, and I hope they are, please visit friendsofrobertsfield.org/buyabrick, or you can visit Friendship Park, and there's order forms there. And if you want to, you can buy a brick online, or you can buy a brick through Enterprise Bank on 185 Littleton Road. And then it's going to be installed in the summer of 2019 by Colonial Stoneworks and Landscape. And they're also a sponsor in doing that as an in-kind donation, so that helps with our the amount of money that we can raise and give back to the town. So, any questions?
Terrific job in the end.
Thanks. Thank you.